We are starting season 2 of Neat Talks by playing kabaddi with Shakuntala Kulkarni. Welcome everyone. So, as all of you know, this is the first day of season 2 of Neat Talks, and we are presenting today one of the most senior artists. And she doesn't like to be called a senior artist, I know that, but still I am making that attempt. Okay, Shakuntala Kulkarni. And she was in fact telling that I like to be called only as Shakuntala. I think she want to be that pristine, pure Dushyantans and Kalidasan Shakuntala, not Shakuntala ji, not Shaku. So all of you be careful while you are addressing. Okay. So I don't think she needs a very elaborate introduction. Most of you would be knowing her. And she's in this domain for last 3+ decades, presented her works in and out, in the country, outside, has participated in many shows international. And as I could see from her profile, she's from JJ, she's from Baroda, she's from Shantiniketan, so has gone all around and used so many mediums. I think an illustrious career. Her works will now talk for herself. Without any further introduction, I would like to invite Shakuntala ji and everyone else. Just two, three sports and points about this show. As most of you would know, we completed 50 sessions in NEET Talks season 1. So it took almost an year. And now, again, the season 2 will continue for an year. But a small change here now we are doing on alternate weeks, that is fortnights. So second and fourth Saturdays, which means we will have 25 artists presenting in NEET Talks season 2. Welcome everyone for this grand start. Over to you, Shakuntalaji.
Thank you. I want to thank Niracharthu. Did I say it correctly? Niracharthu Art and Cultural Society. I want to thank them. And Satish, I want to thank you for calling me and insisting and convincing me to join this. Thank you for that. And all of you for giving me an opportunity to look into my own journey and share the journey with you. And I hope you enjoy that. So let me start, okay? Well, as Satish said, I was in JG School of Art. And at that time, when I was there, we did a lot of abstract works, basically abstract works. And our conversations used to be about on formal level, about form and texture and color and line and space. And so I even continued, even after college, to do abstract works. So this is a litho. I don't have any paintings except one, because all my paintings went to the Jhopadpatti people to put it on their ceiling when it was raining and were all wet. And those days we didn't bother really to photograph, keep your works. So we just did them as an expression and just give it away. So that's how it is. So bear with me. This is a lithograph. This is I'm just going to brush through this whole thing. This is etching with aqua tint. A lot of them I did in Shantiniketan, which I'm going to say later, and also in the evening classes of JJ school. I purposely put this because in college days, I was completely charmed by American expressionist works, and especially when I went to the British Council Library and they showed films, I loved the way they painted. Today, I'll call it performance art or using the body language, but those days I had no idea such a thing it could be called. And that in future that I would be using body language. So this was just, but I was always inspired by the way they painted. So I thought I should show you this, because this is one of my, yes, this is just one work, that photograph I have. This is acrylic, and maybe because it's not written anywhere, it must be 6 to 7 feet by 3.5 feet. if I go fast, please tell me.
Yeah.
After JJ, I went to Baroda, and there were many artists I loved, but I've just chosen two because of the time constraints. One of them is KG Subramanyam, and I always loved his work. And I saw that he was already using different mediums, like he was doing terracotta work, and even the topics were different, like he was addressing social or political issues in his work. And it was always tongue-in-cheek work. And this is Vivan Sundaram on the right-hand side. It's called Guddo, about that atrocities and the rape on this young woman. And he was doing paintings at that time. Much later, he shifted to installations and films. But this is the early years of Vivan's work. But what was interesting is they all did narrative works, whatever medium they used. So that was new to me, coming from JJ. And all these, looking at different works, which I'll be sharing with you, as I share with you. This is Tayyab on the left-hand side and the right-hand side, and the bull falling, and Kali. Tayyab was always using social issues, and he was talking about atrocities, he was talking about despair, he was talking about violence a lot. And these way of handling the space and color and form was new to me, and it always broadened my way of thinking as I looked at his works. Now this is Barve on both sides. Barve was very unique in his expression. He never addressed social or political issues, but he used visual language where there were no stories. It was only the visual story. And this was a very unique way of abstraction, And one thing I want to say is Barve and Dilip Nandade, I don't know if he's here, but Madhav is here, and I, as a core group, met every Friday in a milk bar opposite Jahangir Art Gallery, if you're familiar with that place, in Elphinstone College. And we talked a lot, discussed about on formal level of the work. Because Barve was, and at that time, most of us were not interested so much in politics, addressing political issues and social issues. And so it was always on form and space. But I feel, looking back now, that those discussions, those engagement with the formal level of the work actually grounded me for my future work. And I can use that word obsession, I think, when I talk about space, because you will see as I go along how my space is shifted from two-dimensional to, like installation spaces, physical spaces, etc. So my obsession about space still is there. And it is like, this was my foundation, meeting these people and discussing. This is Somnath Da, Somnath Hor. When I went to Shantiniketan, I was working under him. And he was one of the most fabulous artists, and also my mentors who really empowered me to work. He never told me what to do, but I learned from him commitment to work, the passion to work. And Somnath Da was using paper pulp work called Wounds, and on the left-hand side is his sculpture. But there was always this sorrow, the wound, the hurt, that kind of a thing. So I saw different kinds of subjects being handled with different material, and this really expanded my view of looking at art itself, art practices. Now here I want to say that when I was in Shantiniketan, yeah, next, this is my engraving, which I was learning with Somnath Da. I also, from paintings, went to engraving, that's a different medium. And also from pure abstract work, which I thought was pure abstract work, went to Shantiniketan those days. Later on, it shifted a lot, but changed a lot. But those days was a lot of vegetation, lot of, and it was a beautiful open space. And I was quite taken away coming from Mumbai to Shantiniketan by the grass that grew over there. So a lot of my work was about grass, but still it was on an kind of there was no story. So in a way, abstract level, and also interested in lines. As I told you, I never gave up that grounding that I got about my formal level. So here I want to say, in Shantiniketan, I also met Badal Sharkar, who was a playwright, and I used to see his plays and became good friends. And he introduced me to a person in Midnapur district where I went. And when I went there, I was taken aback, rather shocked to see how he handles those situations there. The Adivasis, the villagers were empowered through theater, to songs, to dance, to deal with the tigers, because this was Sundarban area, and the floods which were destroying their fields and houses, huts. So I said, I want to do something with you. They said, do posters for us. And that is how my drawing started. And I started not just drawing, pen and ink. This is a pen and ink drawing, but also started thinking about a human predicament. I was reading Kafka and Camus, like most of us did, most of the artists did. Then I also, in Marathi literature, we have Gauri Deshpande, J. Kulkarni. I don't know if you've heard about them, but and also Badal Sharkar's plays. They were all kind of on the existential philosophy level, that was the base there. And I started getting interested in these different topics, different ways of looking at art. And well, I come from Karnataka, so my grandfather, great grandfather, those pictures, the photographs that I've seen are something like this. So of course I took them up. And also about space, by repetition, I was expanding the space in a different way. Of course, line and handling of the black and white was also my preoccupation those days. It was little dots, breaking the spaces. Here I want to say, I put all these three together because I want to share with you that I came from a background. I grew up in a background of interdisciplinary kind of a background I came from. My mother was a Hindustani classical music. She was singing. She was a singer. And she also took part in proscenium theater and experimental theater. Both my sisters were in theater, dance. So there was a lot of musicians coming in and out of our house. We had performances, then theater people, the dancers, they like they were all walking in and out of our house. This is the background I grew up with. And my passion was, of course, theater at that time. And especially the sets where different kinds of props were kept to break the space. Then how the actors were walking in and out of the stage and the wings. So that was my interest. This movement was my interest. And later when this whole thing about watercolors came up, and the predicament also persisted, but the stage sets came in my drawings, like railings, curtains, and I'll show you later. But here I want to talk about this existential philosophy, where I was also looking at never changing system that came in, that thought, that concept came in through different plays that I saw, what I read, and talking and discussing with other people. So I started going in that direction. But here, the outer and the inner space was important. Light and shade was important. Movement and stillness, the closed and the open forms were important. And the railings were put in such a way that there was no mobility, as if it came as a hurdle, some obstruction for free expression, free movement. So this is how I was talking about the society who did not have the power or the self-expression in them because of the system. And also I huddled them together because I was not talking of individual people, but talking of communities. So this is again indoor, outdoor space. I won't talk on each work. Now here I want to say that about my family again, that I grew up in a very open-minded, free kind of a family where three sisters never found any any discrimination at home. And even in school, but in college and later outside world, I started feeling unequal treatment and started thinking about it, talking to my other girlfriends, reading about it, sharing, discussing, listening, observing, all of that. And I realized that within this patriarchal society, so many restrictions, so many do's and don'ts for the women at that time, that they did experience a lot of disappointments, frustration, upset, irritation maybe, and also threatened spaces were created where there was a lot of fear. And I chose to shift this is where again my thoughts shifted, my concepts shifted. Though I did watercolor, continued to do the women, I started talking about the status of the women within the private, the domestic spaces. So here I am, the way I paint the saris or their bodies is the way I paint the carpet. So the treatment of the carpet, the treatment of the female body or the curtains or the walls is same. I mean, there is no difference there. So this is my way of talking about the status. And
which year it is? Which year?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Satish warned me that you all will ask, but I keep forgetting. Please do ask. This so many years ago. This must have been in oh God, 90, but much before 90s, 87, 86, something like that. In the 80s, between 80s and 90s. I was doing these are full-scale paper, full large imperial paper, not full-scale, imperial papers, and this is watercolor. Now, even moving their heads, I felt that there's something happening on the other side itself creates a space. Now, I'm also talking about silences. There is a lot of silence and creating that tension within that because of that silence. So that also I was creating by certain still movements. Now the outdoor, indoor space, and here the female body is literally mingling with the carpet. And there is a lot of tension created between the two figures, the male and the female figure talks about the family structure in several families, you know. Now here again, there is a shift in my work. So I keep telling you about my shifts also. I mean, actually, that's the main intention of my journey as I go on. The shift is as I was looking at different atrocities of the women, and I had an access to SNDT library where I used to go and read about all the cuttings that they had filed, you know, at the different atrocities, the violation of different spaces, like not only domestic, but their workspace, cultural and social spaces, political spaces. So I was reading about it and my interest grew much more in that. And now to express this, I felt the need to expand my visual language, to stretch it by incorporating other disciplines in that work. So this project is called, oh my God, so many years ago, right? This is called, what is that? Madhav should know better because he knows my book. Okay, this is proscenium, beyond proscenium, okay? Proscenium arch. So this is beyond that proscenium arch. Again, a theater background that I have. And the works came out on the floor and created physical spaces where you can see how it goes down on the floor. You can go behind this also. And This is one of the works where the proscenium arch is there, the steps are there, the stage is there, and you can actually stand and move in this work. The works don't have individual titles. And I invited theater friends and musicians and dancers to do the performances on this. So little skits were written of 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and performances were done using different works. Here, another work, that's another work. I mean, that's the same work. And this is the first time I experimented incorporating other mediums in my work. And this was in 1994. And I was also part of a theater group called Aniket. And I want to really mention this because this really altered my art practice. There we did intimate theater. Now in Calcutta, I had seen Badal Charkar doing total theater, intimate theater later. But this is my first experience. We did Gochi where there was no proscenium arch, there was no stage, there was no actors and the viewers sitting separately. We all mingled in the same space. The musicians also sat along. We as actors moved along with the people who huddled around us or within that space. So that the relationship of the actors and the viewers shifted. Yeah. And also it was, now today we will call it site-specific work, you know, that we did it on terraces, drawing rooms, we did it on in any gardens. So the exits and the entries were also free and decided at that moment. And I like this freedom. I just loved it. And when I was doing these works, intimate theater came up in my mind. And when I did this work called Reduced Spaces, this was 2001. And if you have been to Jahangir Art Gallery, that's the first time I showed the entire space on the left-hand side. I designed and I created this scaffolding with bamboos and allowed the people to walk in certain way, which I wanted them to, and view the films. So now, along with theater, light and shade, sound, and dance, films came into my work. And these films talked about the same thing, you know, that fear, that upsets, that frustration through body language, okay? And the people who walked in had to negotiate through these bamboo scaffoldings to watch the film. So there was a kind of discomfort because the bamboos came in the way. Then there was irritation. Some people walked out, you know, all kinds of things. So, but I wanted that. I wanted the viewer to be part of my work. So I want to show you the next work. Yeah, this is the same thing, but people, you can't see, it's too dark. They are just standing around very close by. And this is a performance we did with Tai Chi exercises, which is like empowering your body through Tai Chi. And that is a film which I recorded. This is a live show. This is a live performance. So I was experimenting with time and space. In the live performance, there is a duration of time, while there in the video, you can go on if it is looped. So I was just working. Sometimes the actions match, sometimes they didn't match. So, but that was the game I was playing there. I'm going to show you a film, but before that, I want to talk. This is called, this is part of the film of the project called Reduced Spaces in 2001. This is called The Door. Talking of the, I don't have to talk much about this, you will see it, but I've used light and shade and sound to support that fear, that upset, that frustration, that threatened spaces that were created, and hope and despair. So I'm going to just show you that, okay? It's a looped film, but I'll show you a clip. So this goes on. There are three of us doing it. I've just shown you one person, and we do the similar action. It's not the same action, the similar action. The body language is similar, so nothing is same. So that was something of my interest, you know, similarity rather than sameness. So that also I was experimenting here. But I have to just show you the small one clip. This is about physical spaces. This is called Cariati, the viewpoint. Now in Madurai, if you're visited, or in Greece, there are these temples where the female figurines are holding the loft like this, you know, as if, so I'm taking them as holding the society, the structure of the society, you know, like that kind of a, here they are not victimized, here they are powerful. And there are these spaces which you can walk through. So the viewer creates its own choreography, becomes part and parcel of the act, being an actor or the viewer together. So there is no difference here. Here too, they are supple. See, I'm looking at the body in a different way now. It's here, it is not about consumption or making it into objectification, but they are empowered, they are supple, they are, you know, like, so I'm talking of body in a very, very different way here. Okay. Now, this is called Grandmother's Tales. It just started because this is my mother-in-law on the left. Okay, I went to a place and they had a little kitty party called Bishi, they call it, once a month. And I was just sitting and listening there, and they were talking so many things about their life, about their earlier days, you know, their childhood days. And I was like glued. And I said, why don't I tape this? So some of them agreed, some didn't. So about 6 of them agreed, I think 6, 7 of them. And it took me 2 years though they agreed, to make them talk about their pre-marriage and post-marriage days, their aspirations, their disappointments, their frustrations, the culture, the way they dressed those days, the way they even swam those days, their schooling, everything. And I chose women from, let's say, 75 to 76 to 92. So you can imagine the range. Some of them made it. Like this lady here, right here, is a film actress. And in a Marathi film, she made it. But she also had difficulty with the directors and the producers who tried to act smart with her. You know, like they tried to touch her and stuff like that. So there was this always discomfort and fear for her. But at the same time, there were others who were not even allowed to come outside when the guests came. They had to be in the kitchen, wear 9-yard saris. So they were two extremes. Now I'm talking of, this is a 3 projection work, and I'm kind of weaving the past and the present, the different spaces. So time and space, again, I'm weaving in this work. And because you can see the present, of course, this was 2003 work, but at that time, the present, those women who now, most of them are no more, actually, except one, I think, but most of them are no more. But look at the skin, look at the way they are sitting, you know, and the stories of the past. This is the present. So that was my interest. And this was not planned. This just happened organically. That's what I really want to say. Many of my works become, you start with a concept, yes, but then they grow organically. So this became an oral history. And this is recorded by the SNDT people. This is how they showed, but many times they just sat on the floor and huddled together as if you're sitting in a room to listen to your grandmother. And it also connected 2-3 generations, because those kids who came, they said, we must go back and listen to our grandmother. We don't give that time to her, you know. So there was a connection made, but that was also not pre-planned. It was quite experiential here. Now, this is my first film where I've used the body language. This was, I did it in 2000. Now, I'm not going chronologically, but to and fro. When the Gujarat riots happened, I was asked by Majlis, that's a cultural and legal group, who asked me to do one work. But I just couldn't do it when I heard about, and I was really, really upset about atrocities on women and children when they were put in a room and then burnt alive. And no work could have matched that sorrow, that despair. But I felt using the body language, it could be possible to go little closer to that. So this is a very, very confined space. Everything is, walls are dark, and that little light over there. And I've done this performance, and sorry. That work was about hope and despair, and hope and despair, and hope and despair. I mean, that's the only way I could express that anguish. For me, showing the work in a gallery is not just showing the work, but designing the whole space. So this is called, and when she wrote The Universe Quaked, that's the project's name. And there are, I brought the films and glass paintings and paintings on textile together for the first time. So I just want to share this with you. And this is a installation in one of the rooms there, where I put all the works on the top, and you see the works through a little magnified mirror. And of course, many people got upset and irritated and walked away. That was also an intention. There was discomfort. That's also an intention. And you keep moving, looking at this. So the whole thing about who's the viewer and who's the observer, who's the actor and who's the viewer, you know. So these were little debates one could have. And some people even prefer to lie on the floor and watch it instead of just twisting their neck. So lots of different reactions happened over here, because you had to negotiate you saw your face first, and then you had to negotiate through the mirror to see that work. So that was upsetting for many. This is a close-up where I've done karate. I learned karate, aikido, kyudo, to experience all this. I learned from a person who has learned it from a Japanese master in Mumbai. So this is about women who are empowered, who are unstoppable. You know, that's and the way I want to show you the next one and talk about that. But here, Kyudo and karate is not what we see in the films. It's about your character, it's about your discipline, it's about your focus, you know. See here on the left-hand side, the way she's standing is so powerful, and it's about not shooting, but it's about how you're standing, where you're focusing. And I'm talking, this is called unsung epics, part of the previous same project, but on the right-hand side, she's victimized. There are atrocities on her body. On the left-hand side, she's empowered. I'm questioning the right over the body politics. I'm showing this because, okay, you know, Mary and Jesus, this is I took it from an Avignon painter, 1370, but there was this whole background of Picasso's Guernica. Then also when I was reading about interpretations of Mahabharata by Iravati Karve and Durga Bhagwat, Gandhari came to my mind, where that Akrosh, she was crying, she was lamenting over the dead children, and she couldn't see them. So all that together, I created this work. And this sari or dupatta is like an umbilical cord, which is round her foot. This film I just showed you all, it's about hope and despair, about consumption, about dealing with this whole situation, about violence. So I just thought I'll show you a still here. Now this is a film also about violence, but a very silent violence, quiet violence. The sounds will tell you from far something is happening, the road is there, and somewhere in a corner this is happening. So the light and the shadows are very, very important over here. And these two games that I showed you, the games are games that I played as a kid. This is trust game in the theater that we do. But I've used these games to talk about that violence. Now, this is about Hanumanesque gesture. So I'm not going to talk, you just see it. It's talking about the woman, the woman that she admires. It is a Hanumani gesture. This woman is very confident, looking into the viewer's eye and talking about whom she admires, the powerful woman, the unstoppable woman, through the archery. Okay. Sorry. This is again a turn in my work where I was walking through Shivaji Park, and if you know that place, and tar fell on me, drops of tar fell on me, and I burned parts of my hair, my face, and I started looking at how does one protect oneself in the city, walking on the streets. That's how the idea of protection came up. But I was also reading about atrocities and rapes. I was keeping account of the rapes that were announced in the papers, some stall in a small corner. So today it comes in the central page, but then that time it was in a small corner. And I read about little girls being raped and then 6-month-old child raped. I said, this is enough. Now I have to address this, And then that whole concept of protection came as a metaphor. And I said, okay, cane armor came to my mind. Not cane armor came to my mind. And I tried different materials over 6 months to more than that. But cane, I chose cane because it looks delicate, but it's very strong. It can, when it's heated, you can twist and turn it. And it has a beautiful monochromatic texture. And these thin canes, when they're woven together with the threads, you can even disturb or you can cut the gaze. So that's possible. So when I saw that, I said, I must use this. And I started working with a cane chair repairing person who's close by. And he did this magnificent work of creating with me through my drawings. I want to say that there is no particular nationality to these works. The ghagra is Rajasthani, the blouse is colonial, the hair is Bollywood hairstyle, sadhana, hair, those fringes. But I want to say that when I went to Rome, I saw a huge marble head with similar kind of haircut with a bun, and I was taken aback and I said, I've got to go back and do this. And that's how I did. So Roman head or Bollywood hair. So it's all mixed and matched. And as the, and this is for female body, right? So I said, we love wearing great, lovely clothes. So I started designing these clothes. And when you say clothes or dresses, they have to be folded. So then different mechanism was used for folding, like hooks, or also these folding things, you know, like I'll show you the next one. But yeah, so these are the foldings, you know. So when it is folded, it looks like this, like a crab or a flower or a tokri. But when you put it up, there is a transformation, not just of the work, the armor, but also when you wear it, the body is transformed. And what happened is, after 1 year of doing this, as I was doing it, these joineries started breaking. So I went to Assam, and I met one jewelry person who had never done such work, but I thought he could come and work with me, and he came and worked, and he did these weavings and created magical works. I wanted that grand looking magical armor. When you wear it, your body is transformed, that kind of a thing. And that's what he was able to make. So we three people who had never ever done this work or even imagined will do, came together to do this project. Now here is a story here. This is my son's dangri, and I wanted to do that. And the person from Mumbai, his name is Dinesh, he said, I will not do it. I cannot do it. But he had a weakness for Radio Mirchi. He used to listen to Radio Mirchi every day. So when Amar Akbar Anthony music was on, I just told him, did you see the film? Yes. Because he said, and haha. There's not much talk. The communication was only that much. And so he said, yes. I said, do you remember the white trousers that Amitabh Bachchan was wearing? He said, yes. I said, shall we do that? Immediately, I sparkled. And within no time, you know, it took me 2-3 months to convince him. But in no time, within a month, this whole thing was done. And this is how I realized that communication was also very much part of my my work. You know, like getting into their world, understanding them was also very much part of my work. So hence, but this is a special pant. You can't wear it and walk forward. You walk sideways. So that's the speciality of these trousers when you wear them. Here you'll see the blouse, and it has a little breast-like shapes here. So Dinesh came from a culture where breast is not said loudly. This is what I realized, because when I said he was, I didn't know how to tell him that, you know, because I knew that in his culture such a thing is not said. So my Bharatanatyam came to my help. So I just did this gesture, you know, like we do this thing. Wo karna hai. You got to do that. This is for the female body, because for him, armor is only for men. However much I told him, he just wouldn't get it. He just would do it flat. So when I did this, he just looked down. He was red in his face. He got up and went away. I said, this is the end of my project. Next morning he came and he said, Samajh gaya. And he did that, which it took so long to do. So, you know, like getting into their world, their culture was also very important. Just can't tell them, do it, you know. So another thing I want to say, this is a pretty large work. Like most of these are my height, that's 5 feet, 6¼ inches. But I've put it on the pedestal to make it rise higher. So it has become, with the hairdo, about 8. And the reason for doing it is above the eye level, because when I stood in front of Egyptian queen and the king in British Museum, or I saw the great Buddha in Japan, I was humbled. And I wanted that experience for the viewers, and this magical experience that I wanted them to have. And when I wore this and I did this performance, it was a different experience for the viewers and me, myself, because this whole body, my body was transformed. The way I walked, the delicacy of the steps, the beauty of the body could be felt. I mean, I could feel that, and many of the viewers told me that the elegance, everything. Though many times, if I just may go back, your head gets caught because there's a hook there. Even here, you can see that, the head gets caught, the skirts are there, the hands don't move properly. And yet, when you wear it, the whole body is transformed, the way you move. So that is what, and this happened not as a plan. I was wearing this costume day in and day out in front of my mirror, and I called a theater friend of mine and I said, I feel I should do something. And then we together worked, did 5 days workshop. And through the workshop, we created the light, the sound, the movement. And that is how this performance took place. And we did it in Delhi, we did it in Mumbai. It was very, very organic in nature. This too, if you walked into my studio at that time, you also had to wear this as a compulsion. You couldn't get out of my studio. So I made everyone wear it and stand in front of the mirror. And there were different things, like only headgear also made people suffocated or felt liberated, different experiences. So I thought my viewers in the show also should have that. So they wore it, took photographs. There was a big mirror they could look into. So this is interactive work happened. I showed this in museum, Prince of Wales Museum, Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj Vastu Sangrahalaya, because I thought this is a chilkhat, this is armor of today, while the objects are of the past, and I wanted this dialogue to happen between them. Secondly, 12th December, the rape had happened in Delhi, and the hawa was very garam, hot. Everybody was talking about it. People had come on the streets. People were upset. So when the literature that was there, I had kept it aside, the writings, and I was around talking. I was so touched. People said, the way we look at the female body has to change. The laws have to change. This is what they told me. And did Justice Verma then ultimately gave the report, and the government had to change a lot of laws. Now, whether that is applicable or not is another question. With the animals, there is a dialogue with them. Now, again, a shift in my work. Chose about 7-8 places where I was used to going. This is the Asiatic Library. This is the beach where I took my children. I stay very close by to play. Here, a little story. A lot of people gathered, about 30, 40 people gathered. And suddenly one person shouted, "Arey, she's not Aishwarya Rai, yaar. She's some altu-faltu artist. Chalo, chalo, chalo." And suddenly, one person was remaining. I was a lot disappointed. At the same time, I was laughing. And my camera person was saying, "This is not a video film. This is a still, stand still, stand still." So this was so chaotic. And, it was really negotiating with all these photographs. This is a Morarji mill, it was, and now a huge complex with swimming pools, and the children don't even know that the mills existed over here. So I'm standing there, reviving the history, reviving that culture, because if you know our culture of the mills, they had pawadas, they had rangolis, they had songs, they had dance, they had lamnis. There was a lot. It was absolutely full of culture, and that is now vanished. Almost it's gone. And I'm standing there to protect that, revive it. So there is a lot of resistance, revivalist thing in my work, in these works. That Shivaji Park, I said, where the drops fell, the same place. I'm crossing the road, absolutely busy time in the morning at 11:30. Suddenly when I walked, the traffic halted for a moment. People stopped, peeping out of their windows and doors, and cars and buses. And for that little moment, pin drop silence in Shivaji Park is unbelievable. And that is what, if you may call it, art intervention. Because I don't know, frankly, what is art intervention, but I imagine that could be art intervention. That moment, flick of a second, and people ask questions. And these two guys in front are my right and the left-hand person, the viewers. So they explain to them, because they were trained to explain, why I'm wearing this. And people really nodded and listened. So that little thought, if they took home or to their offices or workplaces, I think that's done. That's a little drop in the ocean. And that's fine for me. But that is something which happened. Okay. So now this is my film called Julus, which I did in 2016. And the cane work, sorry, I didn't mention 2012 till 2016, 50. So Julus is a 4 projection work. You stand in the center like these people you can see, and there are 4 walls where you are projected the work which goes simultaneously. Okay. And I'm inspired by the terracotta warriors of China. And I've evolved the actions, imaginary actions, looking at the positioning. They stand with the broken talwars and dhals and stuff. So I have evolved these actions, and these female warriors are introducing themselves like, we are something like, I'm Shakuntala Kulkarni and I'm a warrior and I won so many wars and I am brave and I'm courageous. You know, if I have to say all that, how would that be without words? So they are sitting. This is a close-up. And then they appear, disappear on all walls. And some of them have, bhal, talwar. So they take action, they do these actions like that. So they are very, very empowered, and there is a solidarity. They sit together, they stand together, they move together, they walk together as a battalion. For this, for days together, I had taped 26th January marching of the army, and I was practicing marching. So all kinds of films, all kinds of marchings to practice my marching. And now I want to show you this film. Stop here because otherwise it will go long. But the whole idea was that you are uncomfortable again. You are again and again turning and twisting yourself physically in that confined space. And these people first introduce themselves sitting and walking, and then they stand and start walking. What I want to point out is their body and the viewer's body, the size, the scale is similar, so that you are related to that body in the film video. And when they're walking, they're inviting you as if to walk with you for that vision of equality, of respect, of, so that freedom. So that is what my entire work is about. This particular work is about. Now, when I was drawing for Dinesh, explaining how to do, I started doing I have my entire, all the walls are covered with, over the years and years and years, overlapped boards. So that you can see lots of underneath drawings. So I did this for him because he was grumbling that I do little drawings and he has to do big works, and that's not fair. So I did actually the large drawings for him so that he could get an idea of the foldings. So from there, it became performative drawings, as if you're going to perform, and adorning, like in how I was being adorned in that work when I was wearing that. Same way, the queens, the princesses, they're adorned like Shringar. So that was in my mind when I was doing these works. And then these objects were, I'm going to go a little fast, just showing you. I kept all these objects like this, as if in a museum format, or in a jewelry shop, how they give importance to the jewelry. So I wanted that value to be given to these objects, because now I'm not wearing them in the performance. So now you can look at them as objects, not something to be worn. And that is what my, and by putting the drawings, the lines of the drawings and the lines of the cane, the texture of the drawings and the texture of the cane work. So I was just playing with these two textures, the lines. So that's how it was. That's again. Sorry, I'm going a little fast. Now I want to come to my last work. In the COVID time, last 1.5 years or 2 years, maybe, I don't know, 1.5 years, there was no team. My workers were not there. Somebody's, all far away in Assam and Goa and stuff like that. So I found these little glass works and museum acrylic sheets in my loft, 9 inches by 6 inches. So from those large works to come down to 9 inches was like a meditative thing, like a practice, riyaz, as I call it. And then I started doing these drawings with pencil, glass pencils. You work on glass, those pencils. I'd never used them. So they're like crayons. They're very beautiful. I'd never used them before. So I got quite interested in that medium. Now, Hathras. I'm just chosen a few, okay? You all remember Hathras, where that little girl was raped and killed. So I remembered again that work which I did long ago. If I showed you about that Akrosh, and also about mother and child, about Pieta. So this is my Pieta. I call it Pieta. I mean, these are my nicknames, of course. I may change. So these are this dead child and the mother's Akrosh. When I pose myself as a warrior, and when I saw thousands of people dying in Delhi, in Mumbai, different places, what happened to this warrior? Felt so hopeless, felt so as a failure, as a warrior. What is a warrior for me? Is not someone who goes for wars, actually. A warrior is someone who's fearless, who's unstoppable, who just moves on, like courageous. So that's the Zen aspect of the warriors. So that's what I'm drawn to. And this is what the drawings came about the failed warrior. And then came these works, glass works. And this has also, I'm interested in a lot of, what do you call that? Designers, dress designers, different, not designs, but designers and their creativity. So I came across 2 Japanese, one woman, Ri, and another one's name I always forget. And they created black works, black dresses in Paris when Paris was going colorful. So when I saw and again saw that blackness came to me, that's one thing. And also when that failure came to me, that as a warrior, this is like this I call swaha. This is 18 inches by 6 inches glass, and it is acrylic and pencil work. So it is like how Rajput women just did swaha and jumped. So I'm not talking of that kind of a, what should I say, that kind of giving up life, but I'm taking giving up that anguish, giving up that pathos, giving up that frustration, and again being unstoppable. So just giving up those things. So this was my way of holding and then throwing it. So they're walking, and I'm doing many more. I want to make an animation. Let's see what happens, but when it happens, it happens. So this is my last work. I found charcoal. I found paper, which was, let's say, 15 years ago, maybe I purchased, or 20 years ago, I don't know. And it was rolled and kept when I was cleaning my cupboards. I found it very, very old from Pune, handmade paper. And I have lots of charcoal. So I started digging out all my collection of my material. And I said, I'm going to now work on different things. I hadn't done charcoal for a very long time. So this is again from this designers, the body who says the body has to be, like 36 for what do you call it, that 48, 36, 48 or something like that, or it has to be this way, it has to be that way. No, body is body, and it can be appreciated whichever way it is. So these are middle-aged women. And whenever I installed my cane armor, this was in Venice, it was 40 feet high. In some other place, it was 35 feet high. And I had to stand there, and they used to do the lighting for me. And that little circle that used to come on my side, or I had to stand there, was always, I was like interested in that little black circle as a shadow that came. And somewhere this narrowed space, this confined space again came up for me. And within that, you are now living, you are active, you are unstoppable. You're not giving up your stand. Thank you. Satish, 9 minutes extra.
That's fine. So, floor open for questions, comments.
No compulsion. I know I went a little fast, but Satish warned me not to go beyond 1 hour. So,
Now, I'd like to ask something.
yeah,
Thank you
please.
for showing. Thank you for showing. I've seen most of your shows in Kamold and some other shows in different places in Bombay. So, from your early to like, I found something interesting in your early works, like the kind of a static feel in woman's body, like the figures are very static in a way, and then slowly you're moving, and then again, some sort of action, and then there are a lot of performative elements in your work, and then suddenly you are coming into a point that, like, again, that gesture of human body become somehow static. So what is actually, how do you see this this evolution, or some sort of a it's because of the time, or it's because of your psyche change, or whatever, like?
I don't know what you mean by time, but as I
because
went
of the pandemic, and then
no. Pandemic is now.
Yeah.
It is now.
I'm talking about very recent.
Early days of the 80s. None of us thought of pandemic, but I was actually addressing staticness against like I was talking about reading all these books like Kafka, Camus, existential philosophy, and all that, and about thinking about the system, the non-changeable system where you're stuck. Like something like Waiting for Godot type. So all these things were there in the background. And then I'm talking also on the formal level about movement and action and no action, light and shade, sound and light, silences. All these things were also going on at the same time, simultaneously. So the staticness is about, it creates a kind of a closed space. It creates a kind of that staticness has a different tension than the movement when you're moving. So I just wanted to show the opposites. And actually, in most of my works, there are lots of opposites. Like even in the cane work, I'm talking about protection. And then I've also created them, the way I've designed it, your neck gets caught, your hand gets caught. So you're kind of trapped when you're wearing it. Yeah. So I'm talking of something for protection also can trap you. So I'm talking of opposites all the time. Okay. So I don't know if I've answered you, but
I also
time, the watercolors that I did with railings and stuff like that, those times. And then when I started reading and following Zen, I'm not a great reader of Zen in that sense. I'm not a scholar of Zen, but whatever for my purpose I wanted, and I read, and there I read one book actually that altered things also. I didn't mention here, called Paulo Coelho, if you've heard his name.
Paulo Coelho, yeah.
And one of his early books was Warrior of Light. So I just got it thinking it's something about warrior, because I was already doing one of these works in 2006 or something. Yeah. And I was taken aback. It is basically Zen kind of a thing. It's about each page talks about how a warrior could be, even if he falls down, even if he fails, unstoppable, fearless, courage. It was so amazing. It was my Bible for a long time. It was really my
Alchemist.
Alchemist was my first book. Second was this. But this became like it was like Gita for me at that moment.
Oh, great. He's a very popular writer in
he's popular, but Kerala. That particular one, I don't think people would like it. It's not a story. It's not even like Alchemist. This is strange. It is Zen. Yeah. And then I started reading about Zen. And then I got interested in karate. Not, you see it in films, not like that. Then I met this person in Vileparla who has learned. Okay. And then we discussed what it is. What is that aspect of Kyoto and Aikido that I want? Why should I have it? And then I did these performances or even my drawings. Okay. So it got evolved. I kept using this word called, it was not so pre-planned every time. It just evolved. And I went along with my intuitions. I went along with that.
Okay. Thank you.
And failed many times, by the way. I don't want to have an impression that, oh, she's, like successful and, like everything she did was success. No. Half the time I fell down. But the point is next morning whether you can get up.
Yeah.
So that is Zen.
That's true.
That's the warrior I'm talking about.
So because I'm very interested in that sort of, even you may see that in my work, like the kind of a static or silence, which I'm more interested in it. They carry something. So that's there in your very early work, and then slowly you move to the video art, and then that is also some sort of a repetitive action, which is also again Zen. You are repeating one action again and again and again to create a new like a meaning, and then you changed into something now. Like that's what I'm like. You mentioned that in the pandemic or time, which you did something Pieta sort of a thing or something.
Yeah.
That's
so
in
Pieta, there is a kind of a silence, but that is not heard. Like that, but it need not be heard. So it is kind of, I use this word akrosh because I don't know the equivalent word in English. Anguish could be, but I don't know. I find akrosh is the right word, but I don't know what to say in English. Sometimes our regional language things say much more ideal than English.
That's true.
I don't know, but my English maybe not that strong. Anyway, the point is, even in the films, I've used silences. Through the door also, there is silence when she's coming. Then I've used close-ups because close-ups also disassociate parts of the body from the body and create something else. Like I showed the cane armor, when it is folded, takes a different form. So when your body close-up is there like that, it is very different than you see the arm with the body. So I was disassociating many times. So there are many small things also. Using, if you see it, fine. If you don't see it also is fine. But I needed to do that. They're subtle many times.
Okay. Thank you.
Hello, I just wanted to say that I really enjoyed your cane armor, like constructions. At the same time, I wanted to ask you, I like the part where the armor is like a skirt. So, if you're wearing very feminine dresses like saris and skirts too, this is an armor which can give space to that. But I wanted to ask you two things. One is that you displayed the armor like pieces of jewelry. And I thought isn't that a reduction in a way? Because why not hang up the armor as, hang it up like an armor rather than make it more of a feminine ornament and display it like objects of, like earrings and things. The other thing I wanted to ask you is, along with the armor, usually there is a weapon also, and is a weapon also part of your armor, or is it?
Okay, can I answer your first one first?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
First of all, the earlier one, the full armor it's a full armor, right? The earlier work, and what you are talking about is the object, are the parts of the armor, because when the female warrior is wearing, she's not wearing that full armor. She's wearing certain parts, and I wanted those parts to be seen, parts of the body to be seen, illuminated. Second thing I also mentioned earlier as I was talking, that once that function was over, the function of the armor, protecting the body, or decorating the body, because armor also decorates. It's a very beautiful thing. If you've seen, beautiful armors are there. They're decorative, they're designed. It's not just an armor. It protects, yes, but they are engraved, different material is used. So it's also makes your body really powerful, beautiful, like that. If you've really seen them sitting on the horse and that armor is worn. So it's a completely transformed thing. So also in those objects, when that function of the warriors wearing it is over, what I mean is the video taken is over. That function is now over. Now I want you to look at them as pure objects by themselves. Not necessarily, oh, that warrior was wearing or she was wearing it, not necessarily. Just look at them as pure objects. So that was my intention of showing it in that way, making them like in the museums, they show, put that light and show them as valuable things are shown in that way many times. Or even with the jewelry shops, they illuminate that one, so that kind of value I wanted to give them. So that's what, and also created physical spaces for you to move around those installed things. So physical spaces, as I told you, I'm obsessed with, not just physical spaces, but spaces. But here I had the opportunity of making you, the viewer, move around. So that's one thing. So that, I do not know if I've answered your questions, Lekha. That first question?
That's fine.
So I'm disassociating the usage of that particular armor which was used in the video by the female warrior. The second thing is, one can do anything. You can bring the arm, you can hang it, you can put it in many ways, but I chose to do it this way because this is what I wanted the viewer to experience. The darkness, the spotlight, then you're focusing only on that particular work, that kind of a thing. So that created a kind of a drama in a way. I wanted that drama, the magical figure. Second thing is, I already said that these warriors are doing these actions in an imaginary way. There is no real talwar or a dhal or something. Because actually, I don't know how it looked, because most of them are broken. If you actually Google and see the terracotta warriors. So the way they stand itself shows that they were holding it like this, or they're doing this. So mine is an imaginary thing. The whole thing is imaginary. There's nothing, no reality there. I had seen that in Prince of Wales Museum, 2 of them which had come. Then I went to, in Switzerland, I saw a huge thing. Then I went on the Google and saw many, many more. I wanted to go to China to Swiss, but now China is impossible to go. So my whole dream of going and seeing that really physically is out, at least for a very, very long time. But the way they sit, the way they stand, the way they, I mean, it was something which was awkward in a way. And when I wore my armor, the full armor, it was quite awkward to walk or move. So that awkwardness brought me close to this again, terracotta. And terracotta as a material I love. and I'm close to it. I've done some work there. So all that together. So I imagined how this warrior must have held it, how he must have moved it, how he must have talked. It was all imaginary. Nothing is real.
Yeah. No, I think, yeah,
And
after
Lekha,
listening to
also
you,
about marching, you could ask, or somebody could ask me. Some people said, oh, this marching is like this, oh, that marching is that, what do you call that, like this different kinds of marchings are there. So I actually studied different NCC marching, army marching. Now in army also, 5th Marathas, and with the bagpipes. So all that I actually taped on 26th about those floats that go. Then different kinds of marching, the Nazi marching, different kinds of marchings. Then I saw films if there was any marching during the wars and things. So the battalions marching was very, very interesting for me. And secondly, I also tried, see, without trying, you don't come to anything. And so the different kinds of headgears really visually disturbed. I was not talking of variety here. I just wanted one battalion, the entire community of that battalion to walk on that screen. And that became visually also even, rather than having one this way, one that way, and I wanted the marching to be same. So I shot myself and made multiple images of mine, and then I put them. Now that's a technical thing. I'm not going into that. It's called compositing, but that's how I did it. I didn't know anything of this, by the way. I just have to mention, I learned as I went along, asking people, then working on that and learning as I went along. I had no technical idea. I knew certain basic things, but I didn't know what is compositing, how do I do it, nothing. But I knew one thing, that also I did was my board. How I want the movements, which one should come first, which one should appear, which one should disappear. That was my work. That's called storyboard, which I had to learn to do it. So this entire film is a new learning for me. I've not mastered anything.
thank you so
This
much.
is what I learned.
Yeah. I really enjoyed your armor constructions. And thinking further, I think now that, maybe weapons would have been too obvious and too restrictive in
Necessary.
Yeah.
Because I'm not talking of that kind of a warrior, by the way. I'm talking of a Zen warrior, a different kind of a female warrior who is moving towards being unstoppable, towards that vision that they have created for themselves. So, but I've given this format of a female warrior because I love warriors. Since 2006 or even earlier, I've been doing that. Somehow or the other, they just come some way or the other.
I think if you put all the hammers and all the other things, then it also, there is a chance to mythifying that, no? It's some sort of a myth or something which we connect, or history or something like, which you don't want to connect it.
Another thing I want to say is, I mentioned something called milk bar, if you remember. When Barve and Dilip and Madhav, we used to sit. Now, one of the basic talks we used to have is what makes a drawing or a painting literal. Madhav can say something here. Literal, which, when does it become a caricature? When does it become what do you call illustration? When is it, when the abstract, what is abstraction in a work? So all these things I was grounded in, not necessarily I'm successful in doing it, but somewhere they come for my support. All that, those discussions, all that engagement with that conversation. So many years ago, I have never, whatever I have done so far, my formal engagement continues as seriously as thematic, even if the thematics have shifted, or certain methods of creating spaces or using different disciplines, it doesn't matter. But if your formal level is not strong enough, it doesn't work. then it becomes a caricature, literal, all of that. Could be. This is my, this is how I think. This is my viewpoint.
May I ask one more question and then maybe,
Yeah.
You know, you belongs to a group of people. They are more into abstraction. It's Mate or like Babbaga Barvi, and then whole school of many people from Bombay especially. But how do you choose to not to part of it, like that sort of abstraction, or why you really didn't continue that? You become
I
more
think
like
I said it in my journey that I was doing that, but when I went to Midnapur district and I saw, I mean, abstraction, like even if you do abstract work, once Subramanyam, KG Subramanyam told me when he saw my work that you say your work is abstract. I feel it is a landscape because the way I put the forms had a foreground, background, and that what do you call that line? So I realized, like you have a chip on your shoulder then when you say that I do abstract work. No, abstract work is something else. But there has to be abstraction in the work, whether you do abstract work or a figurative work or whatever goes. But that is different. But abstract work is pure form, pure texture, space, like Barve's work is abstract. It's recognizable and it's abstract. Because there's no story, there is no connection with anything. It's purely a visual form. But I had the need. I love abstract work. I was in Tate before this COVID, and I sat for the whole day in front of these abstract painters, these abstract expressionist painters, and kind of discovering them again and again. I thought I've had enough of them in college days. Okay, enough. Now I moved on. Yeah. But when I sat, it was fantastic experience. So I like Rembrandt. I like earlier works. I like today. So as an artist, I keep discovering new things in all the works. There is nothing like, oh, that's old or new. If I feel I'll do abstract work again. But right now, I felt the need to do this, to address certain issues which were important to me as an experience, personal and shared experience.
Sudaji, here is a question from Sabita. She's asking, you mentioned about falling a few times in your journey and then getting up. So she's asking specifically about that. Can you narrate something?
Oh God. Okay. Many, but if Satish gives me the time, next 5 hours, but then or whole day. But let me just give 1 or 2 examples. Okay. When I did for the whole 1.5 years or 2 years, I said 1 year, the cane work, 11 cane works. And when I was about to shoot this joinery, can you see this? There are ligaments here, right? So I had created ligaments and the joineries started falling apart. And for the next several months, I was asking different people what material I could use. That was a huge breakdown for me. After doing so much work that these things were disintegrating, then I went to Assam through a friend, Archana Hande, if you know her. Then she supported me. She had a friend there. Karke. I just found this person. I came back. He did that weaving belt, sivo. We cut it and joined. It worked. That was my luck. It worked. Then I called him here. He worked with me for 6 months. He stayed in my studio. And then we did all this created. So that was one breakdown. But another falling down was Dinesh had a habit. Dinesh is the main guy who did my structure. He passed away just 1.5 years ago. My right-hand man is gone. But he had a habit. He would ask me for his pay much in advance, 1 week in advance before the month end. And then vanish for 3 weeks. It was so frustrating. And then, like that was, and then there were these breakdowns, like we were struggling to do something, it wouldn't come, then he would get angry. I wanted the twist like this, and he would do it the other way. Every evening, my husband is not here, he would have answered you. I went home and I said, his name is Ravi. Ravi, this is the end of my project. I'm not going to continue this. I've had enough of this. I can't go on. Next morning, 9:30, I was in my studio solving that problem. So that's the Zen warrior I'm talking about. And that's the breakdown I'm talking about. But it's always, you fall down. I called it falling down, or you call it a breakdown. I mean, these are words. But things don't work. Now it's up to you to give up or not give up. It took me 6 years. This project was a long project. Madhav knows every stage of that. Because he is the guy who gives me a shoulder to cry on. And then he says, you will do it, don't worry. And then with that confidence, I start many times, even now, recently. Madhav is not working. Harkat nahi go hoi. So I keep falling down. Now I'm doing a work. The right hand is not coming out properly. Now you laugh at me. The right hand drawing is just not coming. I keep wiping, doing well last 2-3 days. So I've now stopped. I've not given up, I've stopped. I said, after this, maybe I'll get empowered to tomorrow go and do the right hand. So such things keep happening, and that's part of our life, right? It's part of our journey. If we start stopping, I don't know, then rather not work. I don't know if I've answered this. Have I? Whoever's asked this question.
Sabita is smiling. So
yes. There is a storm at my end. That's why I was typing. Yes, you've answered, and we would love to listen to those 5 hours someday, maybe. Yeah. But
and the worst thing, Sabita, is when he got up and went, when I did this action, he got upset, red in his face, walked out. I said, Gaya, abhi to sachi gaya. Next morning at 10, he's there saying, हाँ, समझ गया क्या करने का. So but that evening was hell for me. After doing so much work for a little thing which I've explained for months together, he just gives up on that and walks out without even saying bye or saying baad mein aata hu. Kuch nahi, just walks out. It was horrible at that moment. So these moments are there.
Yeah.
So, Shakuntalaji, next question from Shruti. So she's saying, thank you for this wonderful presentation. I'm curious to know if your earlier 2 watercolor works hint to miniature painting with composition and structure. Can you talk about its process?
Yeah, I was interested in miniature painting like all students did. We went to Prince of Wales Museum and studied miniature. And there was this whole little way of looking at it, but it was only at that point. And especially, you may have felt it because they were smaller works. They're smaller works. But miniature aspect was always there. But once the theater entered, I think it just flew off. But I still love miniature because wherever there is this collection of miniatures, I still look at them. I recently saw fabulous collection at the Queen, the London Key Queen. She had opened up for the public and I happened to be there last day, rushed, and what a collection. They have all stolen our works, of course, but the collection of our works is there. Oh my God. I mean, I love that drawing. I love that brush drawing. When I do that, it's like caressing the paper. It's really amazing. And the similar feel came when I did this tiny glass works. You know that you got to be really intense with that material.
Okay, great. Any further points? Otherwise, I think
I
we
have
can. Yeah. Okay. So thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Shakuntala ji, for kickstarting our season 2 with Kabaddi. So the warrior called Shakuntala Kulkarni will drive us in this second season, I hope.
I hope you have many more audience and it's more successful.